subsidy issue is still reverberating across board. And so there are actions, reactions, and conversations around it is still ongoing because it's an important issue, very important, that is fundamental to both the welfare and the security of citizens. And so I like the way the New Telegraph captured it. It was like a response to those who were cheering on President Tinubu for taking a bold step and trying to make it look like the former president didn't do the right thing. They didn't have the courage. There's this idea of courage about doing the right thing. And so I'm sure it was on that basis that this response came to say, look, we didn't do it because you would have lost election. So I like the way they captured it. I delayed subsidy removal to allow you, APC, win elections. So that is the proper context of that statement. However, that statement itself is one that is, for me, a product of low level of thinking that characterized the 8 years of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. And I would have thought that by now, the least they can do for us is to just keep quiet for now. Let us forget about the trauma that we've been through the last 8 years, particularly in the kind of statements they made throughout, that added to that trauma. This is one of such kind of statements. Number one, it is not true that the former president didn't remove subsidy. He removed subsidy in 2016 when he jacked up the price of PMS from 87 naira that he inherited in 2015 to 145 naira and declared subsidy gone. He did it. But there was a consequence to that action. Nigeria went into a recession immediately. That singular action depressed the economy. It ruined lives. But they did it with the same promise that the current administration has done is well. That, the price will come down when there's competition, the regulation, all sorts of jargons.
That before you know it, the competition will force it to be like...
When that didn't happen, like
GSM and card, I remember
those days. Unnecessary equivalence. You can't compare what happened in the GSM or communication sector with what we are trying to do in the energy sector. They are not on the same pedestal. And so, when the prices began to go up, because at the time you removed subsidy in 2016, international price of crude appreciated a bit, and so what that meant was the local price of PMS, because the importing PMS was going to increase. And his own election was also coming, his own election. So he restored subsidy so that he could also win his own election. Yes. And because they saw the effect of subsidy on inflation, that was the first time Nigeria's inflationary trend crossed the double-digit mark because of subsidy removal. I remember penning an opinion then to say, look, how Buhari took us into recession and hyperinflation was because he removed subsidy on PMS and that he should restore it. So its restoration kind of, mitigated the effect a little bit. And, it didn't get as bad as it is now. So he had to do it for his own survival in government as well. And because, as a matter of fact, this conversation around subsidy, we need to have a rethink about it. This brings me to another important question. Why would subsidy removal lead to the loss of election of a presidential candidate and a party? Because it's a bad thing to do. It is like removing from the people the last, most important, most effective intervention in their lives. So if you know that you're going to do something that will make you lose election, it means you shouldn't do it.
I mean, there's something hazy about what you want to do.
It is simply bad. Look, again, I will insist, people have denounced subsidy for more than 20 years, so that Nigerians began to see subsidy as something that was bad for them, even when it was good. So it was when it was removed now again that we now saw that, they've taken from us the last thing the government was still managing to give to us. Let me restate it here again, and I will emphasize it. Energy subsidy, not just petrol, diesel inclusive, electricity inclusive, any energy product and service needs to be subsidized by government because of productivity's sake. No economy survives high cost of energy, none. That is why it is a priority of every government in the world to subsidize food. It's called food security. And subsidize energy, it is called energy security. Governments spend hundreds of billions of dollars. In fact, in 2022, the global amount of money that was spent on subsidy was $1 trillion globally to subsidize energy. As we speak, Germany has imposed a subsidy on electricity And it's going to cost it 5 billion euros for year 2023 for its industrial output. That subsidy entails the government of Germany taking up 80% of the cost of electricity for manufacturers and industrialists. This is in addition to the fact that they subsidize food in Germany, they subsidize education, and they subsidize housing. And they have a social security welfare scheme for vulnerable and indigent citizens. How do you expect a country like China that subsidizes energy with $130 billion, $130 billion as of 2022 alone, to manufacture goods from Guangzoo, and you that is in about manufacturing shoes and pay 40% tariff on electricity increase? How are you going to compete with what is coming out of China, even in that area market, considering the cost of production? So when governments subsidize energy globally, they are doing it to boost productivity. And that's why the narrative that subsidizing petrol was subsidizing consumption is a flawed one. It's one that the media should please stop talking about.
No, but then there's a problem, really, because we've been made to understand, or to believe, really, over the years, that it's just a few Nigerians that are benefiting from this subsidy removal. And that's why Nigerians actually bought into it during the election, as they were making it campaign promises.
Those we trusted the most, those we rallied around as champion of the people, lied to us. They deceived us, they scammed us. And then we swallow this poisonous pill. If it is the case that it's only a few people that are benefiting from subsidy, why will it have led to loss of election? And what is the reality today? People are trekking to work. People can no longer go to work. There are fewer cars on the road. The economy is on a downhill. Inflation is setting, hyperinflation and unemployment. People are losing jobs already. Companies are shutting down. You know why? PMS is the most important energy source in Nigeria. Because we are an informal economy generally, and the SMEs dominate that informal sector. And the major source of energy to run in any SMEs is PMS. So Nigerians don't consume petrol for leisure. In some jurisdictions, for example in the UK, electricity is their main source of energy. And so that's why the UK government has imposed an energy price cap. What is it called? Subsidy. That is, citizens should be shielded from paying the right amount of price for electric power, because it will disrupt their lives, it will depress their economy. And so the UK government, under Liz Truss, imposed a $100 billion subsidy on electricity and cooking gas. So every government must prioritize energy security, which is affordability of energy and availability, meaning petrol, for example, which runs our economy essentially, should be available at an affordable price. It's a responsibility of government. Governments have been corrupt. The money that they should have used and prioritized for our welfare and security, they are consuming it with relish. This was the conversation we refused to have before this election. Cut down on corruption. Those that remove subsidy from you are still driving a fleet of convoys that are being paid for by government. They are still appointing aides. Your speaker just appointed, your speaker of the parliament just appointed 33 aides in this first instance. Look, our political leaders are still behaving like drunken sailors aboard the sinking ship. And they're asking us to sacrifice. Do you know why government after government have insisted on removing subsidy? You know why? That was the only thing that was effective in Nigeria. Despite the corruption associated with subsidy, the only thing that government was really spending money on was subsidy, because it must get to you, it must get to me at the pump. It is that one that gets to you that is paying government, not the corruption one, because if they divert this money to other avenues of expenditure, you can't even track it. If, for example, the government decides to say we have used subsidy savings to vote for primary health care in your village, how will you go and ascertain whether it is there or not? Is there no fraud in procurement? Why is government not stopping procurement entirely because of the fraud associated with procurement? Is there no fraud in every aspect, including recruitment, including appointment of anti-corruption agencies? Is there no corruption associated with it? Why has government not disbanded Nigeria entirely? Because Nigeria is endemically corrupt. Why are we not telling government to fight corruption? It's the responsibility of government to fight corruption. It's the responsibility of government to fix refineries. It is a shame. It is a shame that an oil-producing country like Nigeria, a leading member of OPEC, does not have one functional refinery at home. It is a shame. That should be the conversation. It's not subsidy removal. The subsidy that they've removed is going to destroy our economy. It's already destroying it. You can see the numbers. No country survives high cost of energy. None. Energy cost in UK, the cost of living crisis in UK, that they're still battling with today. Yes. Electricity subsidized in France. Our president went to France for a summit, right? The company that provides electricity in France is owned by the French federal government. And it subsidized electricity in France. That's why France wasn't affected by the cost of living crisis that affected UK. So, if there's anything our president should have learned from France, it is subsidy on energy. That France he went to, he should have learned there that Macron subsidizes electricity for his citizens. So when you go and celebrate subsidy removal as an achievement, you begin to wonder, are people in government actually thinking?
Because we're actually seeing, even from that France visit of the president, that investors are now having confidence because of the fact that oil subsidy has been removed.
Why are investors not having loss of confidence in the U.S. economy? Because the U.S. subsidizes food and subsidizes energy. The United States government spends an average of $50 billion every single year subsidizing fossil fuels and renewables. The largest component of American budget is 19%. It goes to social security and welfare, which is outright consumables. So why is America still the hub of both foreign and overseas investment? How come Saudi that subsidizes diesel, subsidizes petrol, subsidizes gasoline, subsidizes education to foreign studies level, subsidizes healthcare in addition to food? How come Saudi is still the hub of oil and gas investments in the whole world? Saudi Aramco, for example, is in partnership with oil multinationals in some of the most gigantic projects in the oil and gas sector in the world. How come Saudi has not crumbled because of subsidy on almost all energy resources and products? How come?
So is that another lie to the Nigerian
people? It's a
people?
huge lie. It is an application of responsibility on the part of government to tell you that subsidy on energy or petrol or any other energy product is a disincentive for foreign investment. It is not just a lie, but a senseless lie. You know, I've been making this point even before the election that it was a flawed narrative for the three candidates to all pull us subsidy removal as the campaign promise, like telling you I'm going to inflict pain on you as a campaign promise.
And Nigerians bought into that.
Because they have been deceived. You see, they trusted some of this, sweet wearing, Cockney accent, English speaking, social media and economic pundit celebrities that come on air to bamboozle. And I think the media is complicit in this. The media didn't challenge its orthodoxy for so long that it permeated, and Nigerians began to see subsidy as something that was bad, instead of making a distinction between government corruption and subsidy. It is your business to be corrupt. It's my business to receive subsidy. So I will tell you as government that it is against your constitutional oath of office to be corrupt and not be able to contain corruption or tame corruption. To tell me that Nigeria is spending too much of its own revenues on subsidy is not the fault of Nigerians. It is not something that prevented you from ramping up crude oil production for export up to the quota given to you by OPEC. Is it me that cost some oil theft in Niger Delta? Am I supposed to be bank securing pipelines? It's not the responsibility of government. Talking about smuggling. It's when our governments talk about removing subsidy because of corruption and smuggling. You are telling the whole world that your country is corrupt and it's not having security. How can tankers of petrol, according to you, leave your borders into neighboring countries and as far as Sudan? That is the failure of government. It means if you cannot prevent tankers from leaving Nigeria with subsidized petrol, how are you going to prevent arms, small and light arms, from coming to Nigeria? So who am I the one who appointed the CG of custom, the CG of immigration, the CG of all other border-related security outfits? Is it Nigeria that appointed them? We are paying taxes because you, as government, we have surrendered our sovereignty to you. So it's your responsibility to protect us all around, our borders, our lives, our homes, everywhere, our streets, our highways. We need to tell government to go back and take up their responsibility. Because already, they have no subsidy of petrol. They're going to introduce new taxes. They're going to increase electricity tariff. They are going to continuously suck us dry until they have something to suck from again. And they're also planning to take more loans. You know why? Because government is not productive. Look at where our government have been running. Even this new government. Our president have been traveling up and down. When the work is actually at home. You think anybody will come and invest in your country if you're not put in place what is what attract investment, which is security and stability, social stability? Nobody will come. You think that is the job of a president? It's not the job of a president. A week after the inauguration of our new Senate president, the next thing we saw was he was flying one of the aircraft in the presidential jet to go and attend the burial ceremony of one of his predecessors with all his entourage. A country that citizens are dying and suffering and hungry, that citizens have sacrificed so much that they cannot buy ram to sacrifice this year for Salah. You have your political officer that still behaving as if it is party as usual, and somebody still focusing on subsidy. The Buhari administration removed subsidy in 2016, and that was why Nigerians, we are thrown into the poverty circuit. We have 133 million multidimensionally poor Nigerians. That was the legacy of the Buhari administration. Part of the reason for that was his model of subsidy on vital and essential energy products and services. So it was a failure cumulative failure of the government of Buhari administration and its successor now to remove subsidy. You see, I've been a bit ambivalent about this thing because it was a national consensus on the eve of inauguration for the president to remove subsidy. But at this point, we've seen the effect. I expect him to be having a new kind of thinking now. This thing is not sustainable. Even though champion subsidy, we're not talking about palliatives. Palliatives is subsidy. The most important palliative Nigeria needs today is subsidy on energy, so that we can power our homes and power our business places to be productive. So subsidy of petrol was subsidy of production, not consumption, as was widely misrepresented in the media. All
right. So, Mojidu, where do we go from here, really? And what should the government be doing to deal with this corruption aspect of the whole matter you're talking about? Because this has been on over the years, and no government seems to have been able to deal with that. And I'm asking this because there are also some people talking in some quarters. I actually watched an interview where somebody who is also in the oil sector did say that, somebody who has been benefiting from oil subsidy went to the president, that's Buhari at the time, and said, I am tired of making money from subsidy. Please remove this. So where does this place Nigeria really?
Whoever said this, this is part of that propaganda in the media that gets Nigerians confused all of a sudden. How can you say somebody went to the president and said that the benefit from oil subsidy, remove it? Why was that person not arrested immediately and prosecuted and made to cough out the illegal benefits he's making from subsidy? How is that supposed to be my business? It is government that licenses people that import petrol. It is government that conducts the business of subsidy. It is government that is corrupt about the subsidy administration. Nobody, not even the marketers, not even another person. It is government. The corruption itself is government. So it is government that needs to rid itself of corruption. Once government decides not to be corrupt, corruption ends.
So what should Tinubu be doing at this time?
Tinubu should take a firm commitment and take a decision to fight corruption. I've not had him since his inauguration make a firm commitment to two things: cost of governance and cutting down or elimination of corruption. Every government must aim to eliminate corruption. If you are corrupt, you can never make any form of progress. Forget it. No policy will work for you because it will be distorted. It will be converted to state capture at the end of the day. So all he needs to do is to take that decision, if he hasn't taken it before, to fight corruption. And we must see that in the way business is being conducted in his government. It is important. That is on his own part. And secondly, Nigeria must have a rethink about his political and economic philosophy. And I've said this severally. You see, Nigeria is like Unoka. Unoka, Okonkwo's father in Things Fall Apart. He sits at home every day and plays flute. And he borrows money from everybody in the village of Umofia. And so he became so indebted that he couldn't pay his debts. And he died an indebted man. That is how Nigeria is. We borrow without working. But his son, Okonkwo, was a hard-working farmer. At the time, he borrowed seedlings, yam seedlings. He borrowed yam seedlings. But he planted them in his farm, worked on his farm, harvested them, paid back his seedlings and made profits. So we should borrow to do business and do the work. Government should go back to doing business. It is wrong. It's a wrong narrative to say that government does not do business. It is the idleness in government that has seen the effect now. No government has anything to do anywhere. Look at Kaduna State, for example. When we were all growing up in the 80s and 90s, Kaduna was the hub of textile industry in Nigeria. Created jobs, created prosperity. Did you hear of riots in Kaduna in those days? Because everybody was busy. And then a certain ideology crept in that government should have some means of production. And so the government of Kaduna today is indebted to over $500 million. And there is no enterprise to show for it. All they did with it was to do urban renewal in the center of Kaduna, and that's all. That cannot pay for that loan. What that money should have been used for was to resuscitate the textile industries in Kaduna and run them profitably. The way China runs its enterprises profitably, the way Saudi Arabia does it profitably, the way Singapore does it profitably. Olam is in Kaduna processing rice. Olam is a Singaporean company that is backed and supported by the Singaporean government. So being that every bag of rice you buy from Olam, you are paying Singaporean government. That is how governors, a government of every other country, grow their wealth of nation. You cannot sit down and think that anybody can do it for you. The investors are trying to invite to come to Nigeria are coming to target your internal business. So they open businesses that will target your citizens' patronage and repatriate their monies back home via capital flight. So it does little or nothing to you because government will not get revenue beyond taxation. And what I'm saying is something that government has done before. Look at the LNG, for example. Government has an investment in LNG, 49%. That's why every year we get dividends from LNG. Because it is well managed. Government allowed it to run. That is doing business, allowing it to run well in partnership with IOCs. So they pay us dividends in billions of dollars every year. They also pay taxes. They also employ people. Those people also pay to the state government where they are domiciled. These are the kind of things we want to see across board. And so the states of the Niger Delta should go and think of how to build refineries in their states. The states of the Benue Valley, Taraba, Plateau, and Benue should start investing in agro-processing industries. States like Kogi, that's why with solid mineral endowment, must begin to set up cement factories and all other solid mineral processing factories, state-owned, in partnership, of course, with other investors. But the state must put its own money down. So the governors must cut down this bazaar they are doing. Most of them come to Abuja and just go back, really do nothing in their states. Are you not surprised that, despite the fact that the president has signed into law an enabling legal framework to allow states to generate, transmit, and distribute electricity, only a handful of number of states are even thinking about putting in place a framework to even attract investment into the electricity sector of their states. It's as if the law is not even existing. Because the governors are so busy either demolishing roundabouts or going to their predecessor's house to tow vehicles or sacking local government, elected local government officials. It is chaos everywhere. I expect Nigerians to continue to take the brunt of your idleness, of your incompetence as leadership. A time will come that people will no longer watch drunken sailors derail their sinking ship.
All right, Majid, so some people will say, really, in Nigeria, there's this saying, even though it's become a cliche, that corruption fights back when you want to fight it. We had a general, who became president, Muhammadu Buhari, who also mouthed fighting corruption, and we could see the kind of corruption that happened even under his watch. So, are you sure the Tinubu administration will be able to deal with this corruption in the subsidy sector, and of course that in the maintenance of a refinery, which we have talked about over the years?
Anti-corruption war and ended up deepening corruption through nepotism, cronyism, sectionalism, tribalism, and religious bigotry. These are the building blocks of corruption. So one of the most corrupt administrations we had in Nigeria is actually the Buhari administration. While he was shouting anti-corruption, he was doing the right opposite. It's not what you say that matters, it's what you do.